When I was 10 years old, I had only recently gotten into Doctor Who the year before, but I was made aware of the classic series of Doctor Who from an episode called School Reunion. I thought the only Doctor Who episodes that there were the first three series, but after watching School Reunion, I booted up our old Asus computer and went to the classic series section of the website, where I was greeted with a picture of all 8 Doctors shown in a faint golden light. But the Doctor that caught my attention most of all was the 8th Doctor, played by Paul McGann. When I went to look at his series, I only found one movie. I watched it from a DVD that I got from Netflix, and I was immediately hit with severe disappointment. How was I going to learn more about this Doctor if one movie was all he had? As the years went by, I found out about the various facets of the 8th Doctor, and so I'm making this video as a compendium of sort. A brief guide to the adventures of this romantic, whimsical, and often dark incarnation. This video is for you if you want to know exactly where to start. Of course, the most notable piece of media is the almost 90-minute made-for-television movie, sometimes referred to as The Enemy Within. This story introduces us to the 8th Doctor. Well, kind of. You see, the Doctor starts off in this story as the 7th Doctor, played by Sylvester McCoy. And when McGann does finally appear in the story, his character is erratic, impulsive, childlike, enthusiastic, and scatterbrained. Due to the story saying he isn't fully stable, it implies that in the movie we barely, if at all, see how this Doctor should usually be. One thing I have to say is that regardless of your qualms with certain elements of the story, it looks fabulous. Jeffrey Sachs gave us possibly the greatest looking Doctor Who story in the history of the show up to that point. You can find Doctor Who the TV movie on Blu-ray and on DVD. I will include a link to an Amazon listing in the description. I would highly recommend that you give it a watch. Philip Siegel and John Leekly were intending this Doctor Who TV movie to function as a backdoor pilot for a series co-produced by the BBC and Fox, which would be filmed in Canada primarily. The series never happened because of poor viewing figures, mainly because it was competing with the series finale of Roseanne. However, this was probably a good thing. John Leekly created a series bible for what the show would have been like. It detailed a revelation of the Doctor's parentage, being that of his father being a Time Lord named Ulysses, and an Earth woman, making the Doctor half human. This gets even more incredulous when it is revealed that Ulysses had another child with a Time Lady, who would become the Doctor's best enemy, the Master. Other changes that would have been made would have shown the Daleks to be redesigned to almost have a mechanical spider-like construction, and for the Cybermen to be reinvented as cybernetic pirates, only to be referred to as Cybes. They would also have remade several classic Doctor Who stories, including The Ark, Talons of Weng Chiang, The Deadly Assassin, and many more. Needless to say, this would not have gone down well with many fans. However, this did rob us of any other 8th Doctor live-action content. This one is very small yet interesting. Gary Russell and Lee Sullivan were commissioned to write a 6-panel per week comic strip, kind of like Prince Valiant for you American viewers out there. It lasted for 60 weeks, so a little over a year, and it started the week after the TV movie in the May of 1996. The Doctor travels with his companions, Stacey Townsend and an ice warrior, Sard. Sadly, the comic was cancelled when it was apparent that the television pilot of the TV movie would not be picked up, so they had to quickly wrap up and shelve a story arc involving the Zygons. If you want to experience this comic strip, I'm not sure where you can purchase a physical copy of it, but I know they exist on YouTube at this moment. I will place the link in the description of the video below. In June of 1996, a range of books named The 8th Doctor Adventures was commissioned. These books ran for 8 years exactly and released 73 books. These books replaced the Virgin New Adventure novels, and contained several references to the books, but there weren't too many references to where the audience couldn't follow along. I prefer these books to the New Adventure novels because there's less of a push to have Doctor Who be mature and edgy. I liken it to the way that Torchwood Season 1 tried to be mature and gritty, but came off as sexually preoccupied and crass. These books had an invariable number of classic series writers and writers who were writing for the VNAs, the Virgin New Adventure novels. These books follow the Eighth Doctor with his companions Sam Jones, Fitz Craner, a personification of a TARDIS named Compassion, Anji Kapoor, who is one of the first Asian companions of the Doctor, I believe, Trix Macmillan, a troubled but excellent character, and many more. The Eighth Doctor is very playful, coy, and oftentimes far more cerebral than you'd expect in these books. The most controversial or memorable original aspects of these books are the Doctor's loss of his memories.
Is there a lot of this in the future?
It does start to happen, yeah.
And possibly the most wild and high-concept villain arc in the entire franchise, The War in Heaven, featuring a group of time terrorists in a cult known as the Faction Paradox. These books are quite a commitment. If you would like to read these books, finding physical copies of them is not that hard, but the cost does add up pretty soon. They're available on the Internet Archive. I'll put a link to these in the description. The Doctor Who magazine comic run for the Eighth Doctor is comprised of 29 stories that spanned monthly installments from September of 1996 to February of 2005. Written by Alan Barnes and Scott Gray, these adventures were highly serialized and delved deeply into the established universe of the characters of the Doctor Who magazine comic strip, which had been running for 17 years. Some of the earlier stories may involve tying up loose threads from previous strips, but as it goes along, it becomes far more independent. That being said, I highly recommend that you check these out. The Doctor travels with his friend Izzy Sinclair, who's a massive sci-fi fanatic, quoting tropes left and right to the Doctor's discomfort. It's hilarious. Later on, the Doctor travels with Destry, an alien companion who has a more brazen-faced attitude towards everyone, and she's excellent as well. The Doctor also befriends a Cyberman named Croton, but spoilers are involved. Some of the best stories in this range are Happy Death Day, The Glorious Dead, The Autonomy Bug, The Land of Happy Endings, Where Nobody Knows Your Name, and The Flood. These stories helped solidify what most fans thought of the Eighth Doctor's character, that he was theatrical, contemplative, humorous, and someone who viewed life in a very romantic light. These comics can be found in the 4 Panini Comics omnibus graphic novels, Endgame, The Glorious Dead, Oblivion, and The Flood. These are a little hard to come by, but they are very much worth it. Titan Comics have released a graphic novel where the Doctor travels with an artist named Josie Day. It's charming, sweet, and I can't really say anything else about it without giving away the end. The Eighth Doctor also appears in another Titan comic event known as the Empire of the Wolf, where the 11th Doctor and the 8th Doctor have to deal with an alternate timeline version of Rose Tyler, who's a dictator, and of course they run into our Rose Tyler as well. That one's really fun. So this is the big one. I'm sure you know that there is a company known as Big Finish that produces Doctor Who audio dramas. It was founded by Gary Russell, Jason Hay-Gallery, and Nicholas Briggs. Paul McGann himself returned in 1999 to voice the 8th Doctor, and to this day he is still making more audio plays. That's 24 years of McGann. Due to the sheer vastness of his time on these audios, this will be broken up into subsections. The monthly adventures of Doctor Who alternated between the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th Doctors, having stories released, as the title implies, monthly. For the 8th Doctor, there are 27 of these. These stories follow the Doctor traveling with a woman named Charlotte Pollard, who was supposed to die in the R-101 airship crash, but the Doctor takes her along, time be damned. This version of the Doctor really leads with his heart, and thinks his way out of situations after he's already dug himself inside a hole. He also meets Kariz, a reptilian alien from another dimension. Some of my recommendations for this range are The Chimes of Midnight, Seasons of Fear, Scherzo, The Natural History of Fear, Other Lives, Memory Lane, and The Girl Who Never Was. The first 50 of the monthly range are available for free on Spotify and Amazon Music under the artist name Doctor Who. The rest of the range are available on BigFinish.com for under $5. This was around 2005 when the direction of these stories changed. The new series of Doctor Who had adapted a format of 45-minute episodes with a heavy focus on the domestic and personal lives of its companions, and these audios followed in suit. The Doctor is paired with Lucy Miller, who could be described like if Rose and Donna were combined with a heavy dollop more of Donna.
Hello there, it's me, Doctor Who number 4, Tom Baker. I have popped back in time from the future to tell you Jerry forgot to tell you that, like the monthly range, the first season of EDAs are available on Spotify and Amazon Music. Now, if you will excuse me, I must see that Trump is convicted to prevent World War III.
Later on in the range, she picks up an actress named Tamsin Drew, who is a sensational addition. After 35 of these stories, the range takes a darker turn, because some things are starting to head for the inevitable conflict that must confront the Doctor at some point, the Time War. The Eighth Doctor adventures continue, but in a new format, the box set. Starting with Dark Eyes, the Doctor and Molly Sullivan try to thwart a deadly attack on space-time from the Daleks. There are 4-hour-long episodes in each box set, with 4 box sets, meaning that there are 16 episodes of Dark Eyes. The same is true for the next set of box sets, Doom Coalition, with 16 stories, featuring Liv Chenka and Helen Sinclair, who are his companions for many more sets. This box set has the start of elements of the revival, like River Song becoming a part of the story. The same format is there for the next 2 box sets, named Ravenous and Stranded. The last of the box sets are the Time War box sets. These feature the Doctor and his companion Bliss, also Alex, and an alternative timeline companion Cass. There are 5 Time War box sets, with a 6th on the way at the making of this video. You can buy all of these box sets on Big Finish. The ending of the Eighth Doctor is seen in the 7-minute short, Night of the Doctor. This short is the catharsis of all the conflict leading to the Time War, and shows more than anything else the best distillation of every version of this Doctor boiled down into one. Most importantly, it shows that he leads with his heart, while he tortures himself with his head. It's a 10 out of 10, I would definitely recommend. It is available on YouTube to watch for free. For a character who never got a full season of television, the Eighth Doctor has an overwhelming amount of material. This is probably intimidating to some, but the best thing about the Eighth Doctor is that for most intents and purposes, he's exactly what the story wants him to be. This in turn means that you can choose what to experience with him. I made this video because I would have killed to have had a guide to this era of the show. I really hope it's helpful, and I really hope you enjoy.